Hey guys, tonight we're heading high into the Peruvian Andes, where the world's most unexpected suspension bridges once swung above. Canyons too wide to leap and too deep to imagine falling into. You'll be walking across one in bare feet. By the way, no handrails, no safety nets, just grass. Dried, twisted grass. A living bridge. Built without a single metal nail or even a knot to speak of. How's that for an engineering trust exercise? These rope bridges were the lifelines of the Inca Empire. They linked mountaintop villages and allowed armies, llamas, and messengers to cross wild terrain long before asphalt and GPS. They looked flimsy but somehow held firm underfoot. And spoiler alert, you probably wouldn't last 10 steps on one dot, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, if you're listening from somewhere interesting, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stand at the edge of the canyon. The wind is slow this morning, cool, but not sharp. Mist curls below you, caught in the folds of green like a low-slung veil. The grass at your feet crunches, brittle with frost, and you exhale. In front of you stretches the bridge-thick, ropey strands of woven ichu grass, draped over the void like the world's least OSHA-compliant hammock. There are no metal beams, no bolts. Just a massive tangle of what looks, at first glance, like someone braided their backyard lawn clippings and decided to tempt fate. You place your right foot forward. The first step surprises you. It doesn't feel fragile. It gives gently, but rises back as if the bridge is aware of you. The texture underfoot is smooth, tightly packed. You shift your weight. It sways, yes, but not wildly. The ropes pull, back with quiet insistence. It's weirdly polite. You hear a man call from the other side, waving you forward with both arms. His poncho flaps in the morning air. It's striped with dull reds and ochres, woven like the bridge itself. He's grinning like this is all very normal. And for him, it is, because this isn't a theme park stunt. This is just Monday. For the people who live here, descendants of the Inca, keepers of a 1,000-year-old tradition, these bridges are not relics. They're roots. They're rituals. They're renewed every year, made by hand using the same materials their ancestors gathered. Ichu grass from the highlands, twisted into cords, then braided together to span rivers, ravines, and cliffs. And here's the kicker: no knots. Modern climbers would scoff. Sailors might weep. Engineers upon closer inspection usually blink hard and recheck their notes. Because tying ropes together is what you're supposed to do, right? But these bridges depend on tension. Twist, twist, twist. Braid, braid. The friction alone binds them. As you continue across, the world narrows. The canyon yawns beneath you. The river below is barely a thread. Each step is a negotiation with gravity. Your ears catch the faint creak of fiber against fiber. It doesn't sound like it's breaking. It sounds like it's breathing. Historians still argue whether these bridges were first engineered or first worshipped. Were they built by engineers with an eye for divine elegance, or did rituals come first with structure following? There's no definitive record. The Inca left no written manuals, no blueprints, only stories. And ropes. The bridge you're walking now was rebuilt last spring. Every year, communities come together, sometimes dozens of people, to twist new cords, carry stones, chant old songs, and stretch the ropes across ancient stone. It's a multi-day event. A kind of festival, yes, but also a work camp. Everyone pitches in. Women spin the grass into thin cords, children fetch water, men hoist and braid thicker bundles. No single person can claim to have built it alone. The bridge, like a good story, is a product of many hands. As you near the middle, the wind picks up slightly. The bridge shudders just a little. Your knees do too. You pause, and that's when you notice something. The cords aren't tied off anywhere. They loop, they weave, they wrap. The ends vanish into the structure. Like a scarf that's all fringed. It defies expectation. You glance. Up, birds circle overhead, lazy arcs above the cliffs. Far ahead, the path continues, winding up the slope to a sunlit ridge. It's still early, but you know the bridge will start getting busy soon. Traders, school kids, a donkey or three. Now though, it's just you, suspended, swaddled in woven breath and history. You wake early. Not by choice, of course. The Andean morning has a way of tugging you from sleep like a sheepdog nipping at your toes. The air bites, high and thin, and your breath puffs out in small ghosts. Your blanket is rough wool woven with it. Natural dyes that still smell faintly of smoke and sheep. There's a rooster somewhere too close. He sounds like he's arguing with the sunrise. You groan. Outside, the village stirs. No engines, no horns. Just soft footsteps, clinking pots, and the low murmur of Quechua passed from one mouth to another like a warm drink. You shuffle out and join the others. No one rushes. Rushing is for people at lower altitudes. The women chew coca leaves as they have for generations. Not for kicks, it's practical. At this height, coca is medicine. It calms the stomach, sharpens the senses, and banishes the bone-deep fatigue that comes from doing anything physical in air this thin. You take a leaf. It tastes bitter, herbal. Like the earth itself is trying to wake you up. As the sun slips. Over the ridge, golden light spills into the valley like honey poured too fast. Shadows stretch long, crisp. Your breath feels slightly warmer now. The bridge waits in the distance, nestled between two cliff edges like a slack string on a giant's guitar. Breakfast is humble but solid corn. Cheese, a handful of toasted grains called canca that crunch like small secrets in your mouth. One of the elders hands you a flask of chicha, the faintly fermented corn drink that's more tradition than thirst quencher. You sip politely. It's sour, a little fizzy. Probably been in that gourd for a week. Then comes the walk. It's not far, but the path winds uphill, hugging the mountainside in slow switchbacks. You pass through eucalyptus groves, the air sharp with their oil. Birds call overhead, some with notes you swear aren't found in any modern ringtone. You spot the bridge again, closer now. You can see where the new strands begin, coils of ichu. Grass stacked like golden snakes, waiting to be turned into life-saving suspension. The old bridge still stretches across the gap, but it's thinning, sagging in places. This year, like every year, the new bridge will replace it entirely, not patch it. Not fix a few ropes and call it done. No, this is a full renewal. The old is cut down, returned to the earth, and the new is birthed beside it. There's something poetic in that, something uncomfortably honest. A reminder that even the most sacred thing has an expiration date. You arrive at the edge. The work party has already started. Grass bundles lie everywhere on stones and laps, under bare feet. Everyone is twisting. And here's where the magic begins. You bend down and take a handful of ichu. It feels scratchy, dry, like something you'd throw away if it were in your salad. But here, this brittle plant is everything. It's been collected from the high puna, far above the tree line, where it grows in golden clumps under wide sky and freezing wind. Someone shows you how to start. First, you twist it with your fingers slowly, methodically until it forms a narrow cord, then another, and another. These thin cords are braided together into a rope. Then 3 ropes are braided again into something thicker. By the time you're holding one of the bridge's main support lines, it's as thick as your thigh and 10 times as strong. Still no knots. You ask why. A woman shrugs and smiles. "Not slip," she says simply, and continues braiding. Historians still argue whether this method of construction was a conscious engineering breakthrough or a long refinement of trial and error. There are no blueprints, no ink diagrams on animal skins, just muscle memory passed between fingers and mouths. It's a living textbook, one tug at a time. And get this, no two bridges are exactly the same. Each community has its own songs, patterns, even its own preferred thicknesses. It's like sourdough bread, same ingredients, wildly different results depending on whose grandmother taught you. As you braid beside the others, your hands begin to understand what your brain cannot. The work is hypnotic. You fall into rhythm. Twist, pull, weave, repeat. The sun lifts higher. The bridge creeps slowly across the gap. Someone makes a joke about last year's llama slipping on the bridge. Everyone laughs, even the elders. Apparently, it survived. Apparently, it's now unusually cautious around rope. You look at the half-finished span, dangling like a loose shoelace between ancient stone walls, and you wonder, would you trust it? Soon, you won't have to wonder. You're elbow deep in grass now. Literally, your forearms are dusted with yellow fibers, and your fingertips ache from twisting strand after strand of dried ichu into uniform cords. It's not glamorous, it's not fast, it's certainly not modern, but there's something oddly satisfying about it. Like winding a giant friendship bracelet with people you met yesterday, but somehow already trust with your life. The process isn't just physical, it's deeply meditative. Your hands move almost without thought, allowing your mind to wander as the cord forms itself between your palms. You hum a little, others do too. There's no need for instructions, just rhythm. Nearby, two boys are arguing over whose bundle is thicker. A grandmother ignores them and continues braiding with the calm certainty of someone who has done this since before they had knees that creaked. A teenage girl shows you how to correct a twist that's starting to unravel. She doesn't say much, just taps your wrist and points with her chin. Her movements are smooth, elegant. You adjust, grateful. No one is in a rush. The bridge will be ready when it's ready. You glance at the nearly finished support line, one of 4 that will carry the body weight of the bridge. It's a monster, now as thick as a grown man's torso. It takes 6 people to carry it. No cranes, no pulleys. Just backs, legs, and teamwork. And still no knots. This part still baffles you. Every time a new section is added, it's looped, woven, tucked, but never tied. Modern engineering classes would file this under witchcraft and good luck, but here, it's just the way things are. The overlapping of braided layers creates friction so strong, so evenly distributed, that the ropes tighten under weight, without the need for binding. Like a Chinese finger trap the size of a city bus. Historians still argue about the origins of the technique. Some say it was passed down from even older Andean cultures like the Wari. Others insist it was an Inca innovation, part of a broader engineering language that included terraced agriculture, freeze drying, and those famous Machu Picchu water channels. The truth? No one's certain. And that uncertainty gives the whole thing a dreamy, almost mythical quality. There's no instruction manual, just hands. You're learning to read the language of the fingers, and you're not alone. Everyone here knows their role, whether it's twisting, braiding, carrying, or preparing new grass. It's an ecosystem, a social choreography. You notice how even the pauses are timed. Someone sets down their work just as someone else picks up the slack. Lunch is announced with a whistle. Everyone stops. You stretch, noticing for the first time how tight your shoulders are. You've been hunched for hours, but it doesn't feel like drudgery. More like participation. You're not just building a bridge. You're helping remake something sacred. Lunch is laid out on a woven blanket. Roasted potatoes, spicy sauce, a few bites of cured alpaca meat. Everything is shared. Someone hands you a tiny ceramic cup of warm coca tea. You drink it slowly, the bitterness melting into something comforting. The air is dry, but the shade from a nearby stone outcrop keeps the sun from cooking your neck. You stare out across the gorge. It's wider than you first thought. The river below moves slowly, wide and lazy, but deep. From up here, it looks like someone dragged a dull blade through the land and let water settle into the wound. A breeze picks up. It ruffles the cords you've helped to braid. The bridge in progress sways slightly, even in its half-born state. You feel a little nervous just watching it, but no one else seems to notice or care. They've trusted these structures for generations. And to be fair, they're still here. There's something deeply humbling about that. After lunch, work resumes with renewed energy. Someone starts a song. It's not loud, not a performance, just a working tune. A soft chant in Quechua that rises and falls like the terrain. The melody's familiar, even if the words are not. It keeps your hands steady, your braids neat. Later, a child wanders up and watches you work. He doesn't say anything, just stares with wide eyes and chews on a stick. You look down at your rope and realize you're doing it right. Not fast, not flashy, but right. That's enough. By the end of the day, one of the bridge's main ropes is done. Laid out along the cliff's edge like a sleeping serpent, it coils with potential. Tomorrow it will stretch across the canyon, anchored into the living stone. Tonight, though, it will rest. So will you. The fire crackles softly as the sky deepens into ink. Stars arrive slowly, one by one, until the heavens are thick with them. Out here, far from electric glare, the night is unapologetically dark, velvety, cold, alive. You huddle closer to the flames, wrapping your poncho tight. The wool smells faintly of earth and wood smoke. A few other bridge builders are seated nearby, bowls of steaming quinoa porridge cupped in their hands. Conversation is sparse but warm. There's comfort in this silence, not awkward, just earned. You're camped near the edge of the gorge, and beyond the firelight, the void hums. It's not loud, not obvious, but the canyon breathes. Wind drifts across its mouth and whistles through the partially hung cords, making soft notes like a slow, out-of-tune harp. It's eerie. Beautiful. A reminder that this place has its own music, and it plays whether or not you're listening. One of the elders, his face a roadmap of sun and time, tells a story in Quechua. Someone translates for you in a whisper. It's about a man who once tried to cross the bridge before it was blessed. The rope snapped, they say, not because they were weak, but because the bridge didn't want to carry him. You glance toward the half-built span, just visible in the moonlight, and find yourself nodding. Of course, the bridge has moods. You've felt them all day. Instead of anchoring the bridge with carved wood or heavy stone clamps, the locals use a method that is like everything else, deceptively simple and deeply clever. The massive ropes are lashed to natural stone outcrops, wrapped multiple times through carved grooves or natural crevices, and then buried in layers of packed earth and stone. No cement, no pins. Just friction, weight, and trust. The ends of the ropes don't even look finished. They disappear into the ground like roots alive, waiting, dreaming. Historians still argue over how this anchoring method distributes force. Some say the loop design acts like a tension brace, pulling tighter under load. Others argue it's the layering of friction points that matters most. The truth is probably both. Or maybe neither. Engineering textbooks rarely account for tradition. After all, as you lie back on your blanket, eyes skyward, you start to notice things that don't usually catch your attention. The air smells faintly of dust and dried grass. The fire crackles in an uneven rhythm, its light casting flickering shadows that dance like silent ghosts. The cliff edge, only meters away, is invisible, now swallowed by shadow. Someone snores. Softly, a baby coughs. Far below, the river murmurs its way through stone. You wonder how many bridges have hung over it. Dozens? Hundreds? How many feet have crossed? How many stories are woven into those ropes? There's something about sleeping beside a half-finished bridge that feels vulnerable, but also safe. The villagers believe the bridge has a spirit. They say it remembers, that each span carries not just bodies but memories across time. When it's dismantled, those memories return to the mountain. When rebuilt, the mountain shares them again. Not superstition, more like respect. The fire burns low. Someone stirs it gently, adding a few sticks of eucalyptus that send up sweet-smelling smoke. A faint breeze carries it out over the gorge, where it mixes with the night. You close your eyes. You can feel the unfinished ropes humming through the solace of your feet. Morning returns without ceremony, no alarm, no urgent to-do list. Just a slow lightening of the sky and the familiar chill that seeps into your bones before the sun climbs over the ridge. You open your eyes to a world still wrapped in mist, with everything painted in silver and slate. Your breath puffs out in little clouds again. The fire's gone out, but a few embers glow quietly beneath a pile of ash. Like coals pretending to sleep, someone hands you a steaming cup of something earthy, quinoa broth, maybe, or some mystery infusion of mountain herbs. It's warm. That's all that matters. You step over bundles of ichu grass as you walk toward the cliff edge where the ropes lie waiting. Today is the day they go across. The bridge will be born. You're not the first one up. A few villagers are already working, checking the tension of the freshly braided lines. They tug, lift, test. Their movements are silent, methodical. Theirs. No shouting, no barked instructions. It's a choreography built on memory. Today's work is focused on structure, getting the woven ropes across the canyon and securing them at both ends. And here's the best part. They don't throw them. They don't fly drones. They don't shoot arrows with fishing line like some survival show. They walk the first rope across. That's right. Someone, usually the most trusted, experienced, and possibly the most serenely fearless individual, straps on a rope harness, tucks a coil of fiber under one arm, and literally shuffles across the half-hung cables, balancing over a canyon that drops hundreds of feet below. No railings. No knots. No regrets. Today, that person is an older man named Antero. He's quiet, wiry, with hands like twisted bark and a face that doesn't blink much. He checks the tension on the first two main support ropes, nods, and begins his journey. Across. You and the others hold your breath. He moves slowly, crouched low for balance. The bridge sways under him, not violently, but enough that your stomach dips a little with every step. One rope under each foot, a smaller one for hand support. This is the bare bones of the bridge before the floor is added. Just thick cords. Stretched over air. He's halfway across when the wind kicks up. You tense, but he doesn't. He stops, waits, adjusts his weight, and presses forward. He's done this before. Probably while humming. 10 minutes later, he reaches the far side. A cheer goes up, not wild, but grateful. You feel it in your chest. Now the real weaving begins. Dozens of thinner ropes are sent across, one by one, forming a web of cross supports. These are pulled tight and tied, not with traditional knots, but with loops and braids that lock in too. Place under pressure. Again, the technique is unique. Historians still argue over how such braiding patterns evolved and why they work so well. The ropes bind themselves like muscle fibers, compressing and flexing as one. You help hoist a bundle of decking cords. These will become the floor what people, animals, and cargo will walk on. They're looped horizontally across the main support ropes, forming a cradle of fiber. Above, handrails are braided in parallel, creating a sort of chest-high guide. That's less about safety and more about rhythm. Your hands know where to go when your feet start second-guessing. It's fascinating. This entire structure, this gravity-defying hallway made from grass, holds itself together not through tension, alone, but through unity. Every part depends on the others. Pull one cord wrong and it sags. But weave them just right and it sings. And it does sing. As more cords are added, the bridge begins to hum when the wind hits it. Not a musical note, exactly more like a sigh. A long exhale from 1,000 fibers holding each other close. Voice older than anything you've heard on Earth. You run your hand along one of the new side cords. It's warm from friction and smells of hay and labor. The grass was alive once. In a way, it still is. Later that day, the first full crossing is made. An elder woman walks with slow, practiced steps, balancing a basket of firewood on her head. The bridge flexes beneath her but holds steady. She doesn't glance down. Why would she? The bridge accepts her. And now, it must accept you. They wave you forward. You hesitate not because you're afraid, exactly, but because you should be. The space between your feet and the water below is more than enough for a bad story. But, somehow, that fear feels muted. This is not a bridge built with fear in mind. It's built with care, rhythm, and the combined certainty of every pair of hands that touched it. You step on. The floor gives slightly. Then steadies. The bridge doesn't challenge you. It invites you. It wants you to cross. You've never slept this close to a void before. That thought surfaces again as night descends for the second time since you arrived. The bridge is nearly finished now, just a few deck ropes left to weave in. Most of the villagers have headed back to their homes in the valley below, but a few remain behind to keep vigil with the structure. And you, because you asked, you wanted to see what it was like to rest beside a thing that sways even when you're still. Your bed tonight is a flattened patch of dry ichu layered thick with woven blankets. The cliff's edge is only a few body lengths away. The stars above are bold, scattered like sand across black velvet. No moon tonight, just pinpricks of light, the occasional soft blink of a satellite, and the endless, bottomless hush of wind. You lie on your side and listen. To the creaking rope. To the distant cough of a night bird. To the almost imperceptible vibration of the newly hung bridge, resonating with each breeze that curls through the canyon. It's alive in a way buildings never are. Earlier in the day, you helped lash the bridge's woven floor into place. Not by tying knots, still that would be too crude, too finite, but by loop and tuck methods so ingenious they almost seem like sleight of hand. It's a gentle kind of construction. The ropes whisper into place rather than clamp down. You asked one of the women about the absence of knots. She just smiled and said, "Knots forget. You think about that now." Lying in the dark, listening to the memory of thousands of hands held in fiber and friction, historians still debate whether this entire system predates other suspension bridge technologies. Some argue that the Inca rope bridges are the oldest form of suspension design in the world, developed without influence from Europe or Asia. Others point out that similar weaving methods have appeared in many cultures independently. There's even debate about whether calling them bridges sells them short. They weren't just transport. They were rituals, meetings, ceremonies, offerings. You don't care much for the academic quarrels tonight. You're here. And it's quiet. And the rope bridge is real. There's a small fire nearby, just embers now, and someone's boiled. Water for mate to coca again. You sip slowly, hands cupped around the warm clay mug. It's bitter. Slightly sweet. Just enough to chase off the bite of altitude. You exhale, steam mingling with the smoke in the still air. One of the elders hums softly, a low, looping melody that you don't recognize but instantly trust. It seems to echo down the bridge itself. You imagine the sound traveling through the ropes, through the plaited strands and across the canyon, carried like a secret in the bridge's gut. That's the thing. The bridge doesn't just connect two places it connects now with before. Every year, the old bridge is cut down. Ritualized destruction. And every year, a new one is made. It's not maintenance. It's resurrection. This is not a dead thing that's patched and mended. It's a living tradition, reborn each time by the hands of the same community, which means in a very real way, this is your bridge. You helped make it. You twisted grass until your knuckles cracked. You braided until your back ached. You watched it sway in unfinished pieces. And now you lie beside it like it's a sleeping sibling, humming with dreams. You think of a phrase someone said earlier, almost in passing. The bridge listens. Maybe it does. Maybe it already knows your weight, your voice, the exact way. Your footsteps will press into its chords tomorrow. A bat flits overhead. You hear the soft flutter of its wings. Far down the canyon, a splash of rock, a night bird diving for fish. The dark doesn't explain itself. You close your eyes. The earth is cold beneath your mat, but the blanket is heavy and warm. The grass is stiff but familiar. Your body hums with the work of the day, and in your chest, a quiet calm settles. You're suspended not above the canyon yet, but close enough to feel its gravity. Tomorrow, you'll cross again. But tonight, you sleep beside the abyss, and you're not afraid. By mid-morning, the final floor ropes are in place. The bridge is complete, or nearly. It still needs to be blessed. You stand a few feet back from the edge, watching the structure breathe in the breeze. It stretches now from cliff to cliff, a woven corridor suspended in the sky, its ropes singing soft and low as the morning wind threads through them. It sways not wildly, but like something stretching after sleep. The others move around you in quiet focus. A handful of men are adjusting tension in the rail ropes, twisting fresh cords to replace ones that frayed during construction. A group of children runs barefoot over the path leading up to the bridge, laughing and shouting in Quechua, each daring the others to step onto the new span first. Their mother calls them back with a whistle. Not yet, because before anyone crosses in earnest, the bridge must be acknowledged. You see the preparations now. A woman grinds herbs with a stone mortar near a small fire. A pot simmers with thick, fragrant smoke. Someone arranges coca leaves in a fan-like shape on a folded cloth. Another brings chicha in a gourd, its surface cloudy and bubbling gently. You realize this isn't just formality. It's communication. The bridge isn't simply tested. It's introduced, welcomed, spoken to. The ritual begins. A shaman draped in a richly dyed poncho, patterns like zigzag lightning and mountains stitched across his chest, approaches the center of the bridge's entry point. He carries a small bowl of smoke and a bundle of dried plants. He waves the smoke over the first thick support rope, muttering a prayer you don't understand, but feel in your skin. It's low, gravelly, like the growl of wind through a canyon. You watch as he moves slowly down the row of rope, smoke, chant, sprinkle. His bare feet shuffle in a measured rhythm. When he finishes, he sets the bowl down beside the coca leaves and raises his hands. The bridge, it seems, is now alive. This practice, they explain, is older than the Inca. Some say it was first done by the Chachapoya or even earlier peoples whose names we no longer know. Historians still debate whether these rituals were part of a formal religion or something more communal, an agreed understanding that nature and technology were never separate. Here, you're invited to step forward and offer something. You hesitate. What do you give a bridge? You reach into your coat pocket and find a smooth river stone you picked up on your first walk here. It's unremarkable, but warm from your hand. You place it gently on the cloth next to the coca and chicha. No one nods. No one judges. The act is enough. Then comes the final step, the first real crossing. And not by person by symbol. The shaman lifts a small woven basket containing a few seeds, a pinch of soil, and a carved wooden llama. He steps onto the bridge and walks slowly, steadily, across the full length without pause. The ropes creak. The handrails sway slightly in the breeze. The floor ropes shift under his bare feet, but hold. When he reaches the other side, he turns. Smiles. It is done. From that moment, the bridge is open. One by one, villagers begin to cross. Not as a mob, but in a quiet line, each person pausing before stepping onto the rope, like greeting an old friend. Children go first, giddy with the thrill. Then elders, walking with practiced caution. A few dogs follow, noses low, tails high. You cross again, more confidently this time. The handrails flex with your grip. The decking dips slightly underfoot, but there's no fear. The bridge welcomes you. You pause in the middle. The view is even. Better today. Mist has cleared, and the river gleams below like spilled silver. The rocks were blankets of moss, and somewhere in the distance, a condor circles high in the air, slow and effortless. You realize something odd. The bridge doesn't feel new anymore. Not fresh, not foreign. It feels like it's always been here. Like the canyon missed it during the few days it was gone. You keep walking. On the other side, someone hands you a handful of roasted corn and a wide grin. You're one of them now, not just a visitor, a weaver, a walker, a witness, and the bridge? It sways behind you, humming faintly, holding everyone up with nothing but grass, time, and memory. The sun is directly overhead now, and the weaving continues not of structure, but of song. You find yourself seated beneath a patch of shade, watching a group of women braid narrow cords. These aren't for anchoring or flooring. They're decorative, lighter, but still precise. Each strand loops and overlaps in rhythms that feel almost musical. And they are musical because as they weave, they sing. The songs aren't loud. They don't demand attention. They drift, rising and falling like the wind through the valley. The melodies are slow, slightly nasal, with repetitive cadences that help keep time. One line sung by a woman on the left, echoed by another on the right. You listen as they sing and twist and sing. The same phrase may be sung dozens of times before it changes. But that's the point. The repetition doesn't bore, it hypnotizes. You try to hum along quietly. You fail. The rhythm is deceptively complex, and the lyrics, when translated, are often about things you'd never expect. Not gods or emperors. Not even nature. One line is about llamas that refuse to carry onions. Another celebrates a woman who once made rope so fast her fingers smoked. You laugh, softly. No one seems to mind. It turns out these songs serve multiple purposes. They're mnemonic devices, helping younger weavers remember sequences. They're social tools, binding the group together in mood and motion. And this is your favorite there. Timers. Each verse takes roughly the same amount of time to sing. So if you know that a certain chord requires 5 verses to braid properly, that's your unit of measurement. No clocks, just voice. Historians still argue whether these weaving songs carried messages beyond their surface meanings. Some suggest that deeper knowledge was embedded, almost like a sung version of a technical manual. Others argue that they Songs were meant to conceal as much as they revealed, passing down secrets in riddles and double meanings. The truth is probably tangled in the braid itself. You're invited to try again. This time, you sit between two women who guide your hands, gently correcting with a touch or a glance. They don't stop singing. In fact, they sing a little louder now, as if their voices are pulling your fingers into alignment. You twist the grass into strands, then those strands into cord. You remember to loop the ends instead of tying. Your fingers fumble once, twice, then find the rhythm. It's like dancing in slow motion with only your hands. And then it clicks. Not just the technique, but the feeling. The understanding that this isn't just rope. It's a sentence, a paragraph. You're speaking with your fingers in a dialect, older than writing. Each braid is a line of history, a tether across time that you begin to relax. The smell of dried grass and warm hands surrounds you. The sun dapples your arms. The canyon hums behind you. The song carries you forward. This moment could last forever. And in some way, maybe it already has. They tell you that the same melody has been sung here every year. Same tune, same rhythm. Only the voices change. The bridge disappears and then returns. The weavers change, but the motion stays the same. You finish your chord. It's not perfect. One section is a little loose, but they smile and nod. It's good. It will be added to the decorative fringe that hangs from the side of the fad. Bridge small braids that sway in the wind like riverweed or hair. A woman takes your cord, ties it to another using a seamless wrap, again no knot, and loops it through a larger braid. Just like that, your work becomes part of the bridge. Not hidden, not structural, but seen. And in this community, being seen matters. Lean back on your elbows and look out across the valley. The bridge stretches behind you, filled now with traffic. Two men carrying bundles. A girl leading a goat, a dog with something in its mouth that it probably shouldn't have. Life continues. And the song? It never stops. You realize it hasn't paused all day. Voices rotate in and out, one woman picking up where another leaves off, like the weaving itself continuous, collaborative. Quiet. This is not how the modern world moves. There's no finish line, no applause, just a steady rhythm, a harmony of hands and voices anchored in stone and air. You lie back, close your eyes, and let the song carry you. The air changes subtly as the afternoon wears on less warmth, more movement. A wind begins to thread through the gorge like an invisible ribbon. It's playful at first, lifting the ends of your poncho, tugging gently at the braid you tucked. Behind your ear. Then it whistles. And with that whistle, the bridge begins to speak. You sit on a smooth rock, watching as the newly completed structure sways not side to side, but in a subtle, rhythmic bounce. The ropes aren't tense and rigid. They're alive, responsive, like tendons flexing beneath skin. The bridge is humming. At first, you think it's just your imagination, but others hear it too. A few villagers tilt their heads. No one seems alarmed. A man even smiles and says, "It sings before the weather turns." He's right. Dark clouds are pulling themselves over the mountains. The light shifts less golden, more gray-blue, as if someone turned the sun down just a notch. The breeze sharpens. Not quite cold, but no longer soft. You walk a little closer to the bridge and stand near one of the main ropes. You place your hand on it just to feel. It's vibrating subtly, rhythmically. Not just from the wind, but from the way the fibers twist against each other. This is a song written in tension. Historians still argue about whether this acoustic quality was intentional. Did the ancient builders know that the bridge could sing? Was it designed as a warning system, a performance? Or was it simply a byproduct of good engineering? Some even suggest that bridges were selected for replacement based on their tone once. The hum grew flat or uneven. It was time to reweave. Whatever the truth, the sound is unmistakable. A long, low drone that seems to come from inside the ropes themselves. You cross again slowly as the wind begins to pick up. The floor bounces slightly underfoot, not enough to unsettle, just enough to remind you that nothing here is still. The bridge curves gently, never rigid. It's more vine than beam, more rhythm than rail. Halfway across, the wind catches you fully. You stop, turn, and let it hit your face. It smells of stone dust, eucalyptus, and the thin, icy clarity that only high places have. The bridge beneath you hums louder, now almost a purr. You tighten your grip on the handrails, just in case. They're not ropes so much as braided vines, now warm and textured against your palms. You feel small, not in a bad way. In the way that reminds you you're part of something older, larger, and entirely indifferent to deadlines or inboxes. You keep moving. On the far side, you join a group gathering bundles of grass that had been set aside for repairs, even new. Bridges need maintenance. The tradition isn't just in the building, it's in the caretaking. Rope doesn't last forever. Neither do people. But together, maybe, they manage more than either could alone. As the clouds grow darker, a light. Rain begins to fall, barely more than a mist. But it's enough to slick the air, to weight the bridge just slightly, and to bring out the smell of the ropes. Wet itchu grass has a scent like steeped hay and copper. You take a deep breath. It's clean. Grounding. The villagers begin there. Slow retreat from the bridge, carrying tools and bundles back toward the village paths. They'll be back soon. Storms here come quickly and go quickly too. But before you leave, you pause again, one hand on the bridge, one hand to your chest. It's humming still. You wonder if the sound will continue through the storm, if it will. Keep singing even when no one's here to hear it. Maybe that's the point. Some things hum even in solitude. The rain doesn't last long. By the time you wake the next morning, the clouds have blown east, their bellies empty, and their purpose served. The air is cool and sharp, the kind that makes your lungs feel rinsed and new. Sunlight returns, brighter than before, glinting off every wet stone and blade of grass as if the whole valley has been polished in your sleep. The bridge glows slightly in the light. Damp ropes reflect faintly, and the woven floor seems darker, richer in color. You stretch, slow and long, feeling the after effects of labor in your shoulders, your fingers, your calves. And then, with a strange sense of inevitability, you go. For a walk. This time you cross not because you need to, not because it's expected, but because the bridge calls to you. Its curve in the morning sun looks gentle, inviting like a hand extended for no reason except to be held. So you walk. The bridge sways, as always. Not in protest, but like a dancer adjusting to a familiar tune. The ropes are damp beneath your solace, but firm. The air is clearer now than it's been since your arrival. You can see all the way to the river's bend far below, where a series of smooth stones peek up through the current like stepping stones for giants. Halfway across, you stop, you listen. The humming is still there, but it's subtler. The wind has softened, and with it, the bridge's voice has become less song and more breath. You place your palm against one of the side ropes and close your eyes. It feels calm. Like a heartbeat slowed. This bridge, you realize, is never fully still. Even in silence, even in sleep, it's aware. That's when someone behind you clears their throat. You turn to see a man approaching a young guy, maybe 20, carrying something wrapped in cloth. He walks carefully, but with confidence. His steps familiar. He nods at you, and then, without ceremony, begins to unroll what he's carrying. It's a drum. Handmade, goatskin stretched over carved wood. He seats himself cross-legged in the center of the bridge, right where it bows lowest and begins to tap, softly at first, just the barest pulse. Thump, thump, thump. Then a second rhythm emerges, a syncopated beat that weaves around the first. Like braided fiber. He's not playing for show. He's not even watching you. His eyes are closed and his face is tilted toward the sky. You realize he's playing to the bridge, or maybe with it, because now the ropes are joining in, not loudly, but distinctly. Each pulse of the drum is echoed in the bridge's response, a shiver of vibration, a rise and fall in tone. The handrails begin to hum again, not as they did in the wind, but as if they're following along. You sit a few meters away and watch, listen, absorb. No one speaks. You wonder how long this has been happening. How many generations have come? To sit here, in this spot, with this drum, to remind the bridge that it's not alone, that it's heard. That even after the labor ends, the conversation continues. Historians still argue over whether the bridges were ever used ceremonially after construction. There's little physical evidence, of course. These structures don't fossilize. They return to the earth after a year or two taken down with care or worn away with time. But stories remain. Oral traditions. And moments like this one, where a man drums in harmony with ropes made of grass. And it makes perfect sense. You close your eyes, let the rhythm sink in, and then, gently, the music fades. The man stops. He opens his eyes, meets yours, and nods once before packing the drum away again. He walks to the far side without a word. You remain. For a while. The bridge beneath. He doesn't demand anything. It simply sways and waits. Back on solid ground. You sit with the elders. They've invited you to share a bowl of chuno soup made from freeze-dried potatoes that look a little like pebbles but taste like earthy comfort. You're told the chuno are made by leaving potatoes out overnight during the freezing high-altitude cold, then drying them in the sun during the day, stepping on them to remove the moisture. Like rope weaving. It's one of those ancient techniques that looks odd at first until you taste the results. One of the elders, his face deeply lined but bright-eyed, tells you a story as you eat. He gestures with his spoon, pointing at the bridge. He says, "The Incas never drew maps." You pause. Surely that can't be right. But it is. The Inca Empire, one of the largest in pre-Columbian America, spanned thousands of miles, yet left no known written maps, no blueprints, no architectural diagrams. Roads, aqueducts, terraces, cities, and yes, rope bridges were designed without ink or parchment. And yet, it worked. Historians have long marveled at this. How did the Inca manage such widespread infrastructure with no written language and no wheel? How were they able to build bridges so consistently and in such improbable places? The answer, as the elder says with a wink, is in the feet. He taps the ground with his heel. Our ancestors walked the knowledge, he says. They knew every step. They passed it with hands and footsteps. You realize he means it literally. Apprentices walked with elders, learning where and how to build not from diagrams, but by doing. They measured spans with body lengths. They judged anchor points by sight, feel, and instinct. Everything was tactile, lived. There's a famous phrase among Andean communities, "Ama swa, ama lula, ama quella." Do not steal, do not lie, do not be lazy. It's a moral code, yes, but it's also a guide to construction. A lazy braid, a careless splice, a lie in the rope structure, that could mean collapse. Here, ethics are as structural as stone. You finish your soup and are invited to help carry stones to the far cliff face. Not for the bridge, you've already built that, but for the path beyond it. Because the Inca didn't just build one miraculous thing and stop. They built networks, Trails that snaked across mountains, dipped into valleys, and rose again to cloud-swept ridges. The Kapak-an, or Royal Road, was an astonishing system of footpaths, some 25,000 miles worth, many of which survive even now. Rope bridges like the one you've crossed were key junctions in that system, and none of it had nails. You helped place the stones with the others. Flat ones on the bottom, more rounded ones toward the sides to guide water off the edge. Each rock has a place, no mortar, no cement. Just friction and precision. The bridge isn't the only knotless miracle here. You pause to rest, wiping sweat from your brow. Behind you, the bridge sways gently, catching the light. A woman approaches with a folded cloth. Inside is a worn piece of woven cord frayed at the ends, golden brown from years of sun and touch. She tells you it's from a bridge built over 20 years ago. When it was dismantled, they saved a few pieces. Not to reuse, just to remember. You run your fingers over it. The weave is tight, but loose in places where the fibers have softened. It smells faintly of ash and eucalyptus dot. It feels like memory. Historians still argue over whether this kind of engineering was purely practical or something more. Could it be that these woven spans were meant as metaphors? That they symbolize the connection between worlds, between villages, between humans and nature, between life and death? Theories abound. But here, the answer is simpler. The bridge works. It's beautiful. And it lasts just long enough to be rebuilt. The elder takes back the old cord and ties it to a tree near the path. Not with a knot. Just a loop, pulled through itself and left to hang like a prayer. You stand and look out over the gorge. The bridge sways in the breeze, the ropes humming their soft, familiar tune. Not loud, but steady. You smile, because now you understand what they meant when they said the Incas didn't need blueprints. They had hands. They had grass. They had rhythm, and they had the will to cross, even when the path had to be made from scratch. The sun tilts westward, casting long shadows that slide across the cliffs like lazy serpents. The air warms briefly in that late afternoon way sun on skin, even as the breeze cools your neck. The bridge, too, has shifted with the day. You can see it from where you sit on the slope above. Its silhouette stretched across the gorge, slackened just slightly as the ropes dry fully from the morning mist. Below, a small group has gathered. The bridge is about to receive its first real cargo. Bundles of firewood and bags of dried maize headed to a neighboring village. You decide to walk back down, the stones crunching softly underfoot. There's a familiar rhythm in your step, now part muscle memory, part curiosity. When you reach the edge, a boy hands you a cord. He doesn't explain, but his grin suggests. This is a kind of invitation. You loop it across your shoulders, and in no time, you're part of the transport team. Your load is light, a few wrapped packages bound in cloth and secured with, of course, loops rather than knots. You glance across the bridge. It sways, but not in protest. The wind has calmed, and the structure looks confident. At ease. So you begin. Each step brings back every sensation from earlier days, the bounce of the floor beneath your solace, the tension in the side rails, the faint vibration that passes through the ropes like breath. This time, though, you're focused not on your footing, but on the cargo. It shifts gently on your back, forcing you to adjust your balance. Mid-span. You pause to rest. The canyon stretches out below you, green and golden and endless. The river carves a slow S between the cliffs, its surface broken only by stones and shadows. A bird calls overhead, then dives out of sight. And the bridge? It hums, a new tone maybe. Deeper, more resonant. Like it's adjusting to the added weight, stretching into its next identity. Not just a footpath now, but a lifeline, a carrier, a voice, Behind you, another villager begins his crossing. He's leading a llama with quiet murmurs and a short stick. The animal's eyes are wide but calm. Clearly, this isn't its first dance with the bridge. Its hooves click against the woven floor with surprising delicacy, and its ears twitch with every creak of rope. You recall a story someone told yesterday, that of a llama who panicked mid-bridge and had to be led back by a man singing lullabies. Whether or not it's true, the visual has stuck with you. An animal, terrified, soothed by song and steady steps. Historians still argue whether animals trusted these bridges as easily as humans did. Some accounts suggest herds had to be trained. LED, even blindfolded. Others insist llamas simply knew that they were more sure-footed on grass and air than people ever could be. You believe both. The crossing ends uneventfully. You unload your bundle on the far side and sit for a moment on a smooth stone. It's warm from the sun, and your shoulders are thankful. The llama wanders off, munching a low bush without a care in the world. You close your eyes. Behind your lids, the bridge still sways. You can feel it in your legs, in your chest. That low rhythm, part breath, part memory. One of the older children approaches and offers you a chunk of fruit. You accept gratefully. It's tart and juicy, some kind of wild guava, you think, and its flavor hits you with the shock of the present moment. Everything slows. The bridge behind you is quiet now, but not silent, because even in stillness, it speaks. Its loops whisper intention. Its braids murmur with friction. Its fibers hum with the oil of human hands. No nails, no knots, no blueprints. Just memory. Grass. And will. You rise to begin the walk back, and as you do, you glance over your shoulder. The bridge is full again. Another group crossing, another load passing through. It will never be empty for long. And that's the point. Bridges are meant to be used. By now, they call you apprentice. Not as a joke, not quite formally either, just as a gentle acknowledgement. A learner. A temporary inheritor of a very old rhythm. Today, they ask you to try braiding one of the smaller guide ropes on your own. Not a critical part, nothing load-bearing, but a line that will help tether the handrail in place. You agree, of course. There's no ceremony to it. A roll of dried ichu is dropped beside you. Someone nods. You begin. Your fingers remember. More than you thought they would. Twist, loop, fold. Reverse the direction. Tighten, but not too tight. Always even pressure. Your thumbs start to ache after a while, but the ache is familiar now, almost friendly. You fall into the same pattern as before, head down, hands working, the occasional sip of water, a shared grin when someone walks by and offers a peanut or a joke. The wind is steady today, not fierce, just strong enough to keep the bridge swaying softly in its moorings. Every so often, it gives a faint that seems to align perfectly with the tug of your cord, and then someone shouts. You look up. Startled, not in fear, but curiosity. There's no panic in the voice, just excitement. You squint toward the far side of the bridge. There, standing at the head of the trail, is a small group of travelers, outsiders. Not tourists with selfie sticks, but perhaps anthropologists, hikers, or simply curious wanderers. Their packs are dusty, their boots worn. One of them waves. They're invited to sit and rest. You go back to your work. A few minutes later, one of them, an older woman with thick glasses and a notebook, walks up and kneels beside you. She watches silently for a while before asking, softly, "Do you know what kind of braid you're using?" You pause. No knots, you say, automatically. Just loops. She smiles. Right, but that's a half-hitch spiral. Old Andean style. You're doing it right. You look down at your work. It is neat. Not perfect, but neat. She flips open her notebook. There are drawings of braids, some detailed diagrams, others just rough sketches. One looks a lot like yours, but the caption underneath isn't in Quechua. It's in English. You ask her if she's a historian. Sort of, she says. I study indigenous infrastructure. Systems that lasted longer than empires. You think about that phrase for a while, systems that lasted longer than empires. Because the Inca Empire, for all its vastness and might, did not survive the arrival of European conquest. Its temples were looted, its leaders captured, its roads repurposed. But the bridges? They continued not because someone archived the plans, but because the knowledge lived in fingers. She tells you that some modern engineers have tried to recreate these rope bridges using synthetic fiber, 3D modeling, high-tension clamps. But often, they fail to replicate the stability. Something always feels off. Historians still argue why is it the material, the climate, the braiding patterns, or is it the one thing modern? Science has trouble quantifying. The intuition of 1,000 years of practice? You finish your braid. She nods appreciatively and scribbles a note. You suspect it won't end up in a formal paper. Maybe just her own way of remembering. Later that day, she and the others cross the bridge slowly, reverently. One of them gasps audibly at the midpoint, caught between awe and slight terror, but they all make it. On the far side, they cheer, laugh, take a single photo together. No one poses. No one performs. It feels like a goodbye, not just a crossing. You sit again by the edge of the gorge, watching the light change. The travelers shrink in the distance, winding their way up a hill trail lined with scrubby brush and wildflowers. The bridge behind them returns to stillness, not silence. Stillness. You think again of what the historian said about systems that last longer than empires. And for the first time, you realize this bridge isn't resisting time. It works with. It doesn't fight decay. It embraces impermanence. It's allowed to disappear, because disappearing is not the same as being forgotten. The bridge is busier today. Word has spread to nearby villages that it's complete and open for travel, and now the narrow path leading to it hums with quiet activity. You sit cross-legged on a warm flat stone and watch as the bridge hosts its parade. An old man balancing a basket of eggs, two women carrying clay pots stacked like towers, a trio of laughing children chasing a dog that clearly doesn't want to be chased. And then something more dramatic. A te. Llama hesitates. Its handler, a young man with a relaxed attitude and an oversized straw hat, urges it forward with soft clicks of his tongue and a gentle tug on the rope lead. The llama considers this. You can see the internal debate flickering across its long face. Cross the suspiciously wiggly rope floor, or plant all 4 feet and refuse to move. Guess which it chooses. The bridge. Sensing tension begins to sway just a little more as the handler steps forward, trying to coax his woolly companion across. The animal stretches its neck out dramatically, almost comically, as if trying to check for danger without moving a single hoof. You and several others are watching now, smiling behind hands. Then, without warning, the llama lets out a snort, spins halfway around, and bolts. Except it forgets it's already halfway onto the bridge. A short moment of chaos unfolds. The handler lurches, rope in hand. The llama stumbles, slips slightly, its back legs flailing against the woven floor like a cartoon character, and then miraculously catches itself. It freezes. Its eyes are huge. There's a long silence. Then someone starts laughing. Loud, bright laughter. Not mocking, just the sound of shared relief. The llama eventually calms down, snorts again, this time less dramatically, and shuffles the rest of the way across like it meant to do that all along. The handler bows theatrically to a few clapping children. The llama ignores them all, you learn. Later that llamas are notoriously stubborn about rope bridges. Some cross without a blink. Others treat each one like a fresh betrayal. There are techniques to help them cloth blindfolds, having a second llama lead, but often it's simply a matter of persuasion and patience. Historians still argue whether Inca engineers deliberately designed the bridge's sway to mimic the natural rhythm of walking, making it easier for humans and animals to adapt. Others say the movement was just a side effect, unavoidable, but manageable. Either way, it clearly works at least most of the time. You spend the afternoon assisting with minor repairs, nothing major, just adjusting a few bindings and reweaving some side fringes that had loosened. The bridge is only days old, but already the weather and wear are leaving their marks. That's the thing about these bridges. They're never done. From the moment they're finished, they begin their journey toward unraveling. And yet, they never fall apart suddenly, because they're watched, tended, cared for. You think about that as you work, a concept unfamiliar to many modern structures. In the industrial world, a bridge is built to be strong, still, and solitary. If it cracks, we panic. If it moves, we assume it's failing. But this bridge? It was meant to flex, to creak, to live. Later, as the sun begins to lower, you sit again in the center of the bridge, your new favorite place in the world, and feel the rope beneath. You shift ever so gently that you close your eyes. You imagine the journey of each strand cut from the highlands, dried in the sun, twisted by hand, woven in rhythm, laid across a canyon. You think of all the feet that have crossed here, all the stories, all the laughter and fear and calm that have traveled this swaying hallway in the sky. And now, yours is among them. You're a piece of the bridge too now, not just a guest, not just a name in a notebook. You braided, you crossed, you listened. Dawn, again. By now, you know the smell of morning in this place, wood smoke clinging to your sleeves, the faint sweetness of damp ichu grass, the sharp clarity of cold air rising from the gorge. You no longer flinch at the rooster. You wake before. It does. Today feels quieter, even though the village is gently bustling. There's no festival, no drama, no outsiders with notebooks, just routine. The bridge, completed and blessed, has fully resumed its role in daily life. And you, strangely, are no longer a novelty here. You help carry a few bundles, tools, wrapped cloth, even a bundle of guinea pigs in a woven basket, squeaking their descent. Everyone's polite, but not performative. You've become background, like a familiar rock on the trail or a new calf in the pasture. It's oddly comforting. Crossing the bridge now is different. You don't analyze the sway. You don't listen for creaks. You just walk, one foot, then the other. The handrails are familiar under your fingers. You could probably cross it blindfold, though you won't test that theory today. On the far side, a boy is adjusting a stone that slipped out of the path. He grunts, lifts it, replaces it with a smaller one. No one told him to do this. He just does it, because the bridge is never finished. The path never done. The maintenance is folded into the living. Someone passes carrying a newborn wrapped in bright cloth. The woman smiles as she steps onto the bridge, cradling the child. Close. You wonder how many first journeys begin like this, swaying softly above the earth, wrapped in wool and motion. You sit again at the edge. Let the morning pass, and you start to notice things you hadn't before. Small tufts of grass growing between cliff stones. Bits of abandoned ichu curls caught in the wind like golden feathers. The way the bridge's shadow stretches onto the rock wall, braided like the bridge itself. You watch an older man adjust a handrail cord with a tool made from bone. He works slowly, methodically, and hums to himself, not one of the Weaver songs, but something softer, more personal. Maybe a prayer. Maybe just something to fill the space between thoughts. He tells you the bridge will last another year, maybe more if it's treated well. But it's not about how long it lasts, it's how fully it's used. Some things, he says, are meant to carry weight for only a while. You ask if that makes it fragile. He shakes his head. No, that makes it true. Historians still argue whether the rope bridges were symbols of power or simply practical tools. Some say they showed the Incas' dominion over nature, proof of their reach. Others insist they were acts of humility cooperation with the land, not conquest. You think both can be true. This bridge wasn't imposed on the canyon. It was invited to span it, and soon it will dissolve again. That is its power, you remember. Someone telling you that each year's bridge includes fibers from the last. Small braids tucked into new ones, carrying memory forward, like a whisper passed through time. You touch one of the fringe cords now light, fluttering, still smelling faintly of sun. Maybe your braid is part of this one. Maybe it'll be woven into the next. Or maybe it'll fray and fall and become soil again. Either way, it belonged. You belonged. You think of modern bridges, steel, concrete, frozen in place. And you think of this one, swinging gently in the breeze, singing its slow, braided song. You know which one you'll remember. It begins again. The year hasn't passed, not yet, but the preparations already stir. Down in the valley, a group of young people are twisting thin cords beside their grandparents, laughing, arguing gently over whose hands are faster. You're sitting a little higher on the ridge now, watching, not participating this time, just observing. Not because you're unwelcome, but because you've become part of the rhythm. One season, one weave, one passing breath in the long life of the bridge. Today, a new conversation begins. When to dismantle the current bridge. You blink. It's still strong. Still whole. But that's the point. The people here don't wait for collapse. They don't fear decay. They expect it. They plan for it. They renew instead of repair. This is not neglect. This is respect. Below, someone pulls at one of the fringe braids you braid, maybe, and smiles as it unspools slightly. A test. Hey. Reminder that the bridge, though strong, is temporary. The disassembly of a rope bridge is almost as beautiful as its creation. You learn this in fragments from overheard conversations and casual gestures. The bridge is never cut apart all at once. It is loosened, coaxed back into the earth, one cord at a time, like brushing out a braid. The villagers say each dismantling is a return. The fibers become compost. The stones are left where they fell. The structure feeds the soil it once floated. Above, and no one mourns it, because the knowledge remains. You watch a small group begin to gather you again, preparing early. Some of them are kids who weren't tall enough to help last year. Now they squat beside the adults, twisting with clumsy pride. A girl chews a coca leaf and concentrates fiercely on her twist. An older man corrects her hands, then lets go. She continues, tongue peeking out in focus. You smile. Historians still argue whether this annual ritual was tied to astronomy, whether the Inca used star positions to time the rebuilding. Some say the bridges were aligned with solstices or the full moon. Others believe the schedule was purely practical based on wear, trade cycles, or rainfall. But here, no one speaks of stars. They speak of feel, of knowing when it's time because the wind smells different, or because the grass dries just right, or because someone dreamed of rope unspooling into the sky. You're handed a piece of fresh ICHU. It crumbles slightly in your hand, still too green, not ready. You're told to dry it. Lay it in the sun, let the breeze take the moisture. Then it will become something strong. You look at the bridge again. It's still swaying. Still carrying loads, still singing dot, and yet it is already being remembered. You help sort grass into bundles. The process is so familiar now that your body moves before your brain catches up. Someone hums. You join in. A girl hands you a spindle. You begin again, and you realize this is the magic. The bridge is not an object dot, it is a process, a rhythm that outlives individuals. A story told with hands, not mouths. A conversation across generations. Later, you sit with one of the elders. He hands you a frayed bit of cord. Old bridge, he says. You run your fingers over it. It feels like time. He points at a fresh bundle. New bridge, he says. You nod. It feels like promise. And between the two, between what was and what will be, you sit quietly, hands moving, voice low, rope slowly forming. The bridge hums behind you, still there, but already gone. You sit in the shade of a stone wall now, feet dusty, hands rough, a coil of grass cord resting in your lap. It's late afternoon again, the time when the sun turns everything gold and even the wind seems to slow down. A group of boys are practicing. Their braids nearby, their voices rising and falling in excited bursts, while two elders quietly observe, correcting only with glances and the occasional grunt. This, you realize, is the school. There's no chalkboard, no textbooks, no desks, but the learning is constant. Skills passed down with a gesture, a pattern repeated until it sticks. This is how the bridge survives through imitation and iteration. Later in the day, someone brings out a long, narrow object wrapped in cloth. When they open it, you lean in. It's a quipu. You've heard of them. Of course, those strange collections of colored cords and knots used by the Inca to record information. But this one is old, worn soft by time and hands. The strings hang like strands of an ancient jellyfish, each one looped and knotted in ways that look random, but aren't. One of the elders holds it carefully. He explains that while historians still debate what exactly Kippis recorded taxes, census data, stories, some believe they worked a lot like the bridges. Not in structure, but in logic. Loops, braids, tension. Information encoded through fiber. A language not of ink, but of touch. Some scholars argue that the same techniques used to build bridges, standardized rope thickness, predictable twist, direction, consistent spacing may have helped early weavers read the cords by feel, not just sight. Others claim quipus were mostly mnemonic devices, aids for oral storytelling rather than a language in themselves. But here, the distinctions don't matter much. Because the community treats the quipu as sacred. The elder gently hands it to you. You feel the cords brush your fingers like dried river reeds. Some knots are tight, almost invisible. Others are spaced out, deliberate. You have no idea what it says, but you believe it speaks. The bridges and the quipus, they come from the same impulse. Not just to connect places, but to connect moments. To preserve knowledge in something other than sound. Not written in stone, but in motion, you hand it back carefully. The elder smiles. Later, you walk alone to the bridge. The light is low now, and the cables cast long shadows across the stone anchor points. You notice, for the first time, how the bridge itself resembles a giant quipu cords hanging in organized patterns, tension holding them in perfect order. One structure carries people, the other carries memory, but both do so without a single page. Modern engineers have tried to study the bridges. There was a group once university-backed who attempted a full replica. They used synthetic rope and high-tensile cable, computer modeling, and laser measurements. It looked right, but when they walked across it, it failed. Not structurally, psychologically. It felt wrong. The sway was unnatural. The tension too sharp. The bridge didn't breathe. So they came here. To learn. And what they found wasn't a formula. It was rhythm. You place your hand on the rope again, still warm from the sun, still pulsing with that quiet, familiar hum. You realize now that a bridge like this doesn't resist the forces around it, it listens to them. Wind, weight, weather, footsteps. It adjusts constantly, flexing in every direction. Not to hold still, but to remain whole. There's something deeply human in that, and something deeply missing in the way most modern structures are built. Stiff, absolute, designed to endure by resisting change, but this bridge endures by yielding. You step onto it one more time, not because you need to cross, but because it's there, because it welcomes you. You walk halfway, stop, and sit. Let it move under you. Let it remember your weight. Let it teach you, without words, what it means to carry something and let go. This time, when you rise in the early dark, no one calls for you. You're not on any task list. There's no bundle waiting by your sleeping mat, no cord pile set aside for your hands. Today, you wake because you want to. The chill still bites. The mist still creeps, but it all feels familiar now, like the kind of discomfort you've grown to welcome. You slip on your poncho and walk the ridge path quietly, letting your feet choose the way. The sun hasn't risen, but the stars have begun to fade, giving the sky a soft gray glow, the color of silence before sound. The bridge comes into view, its silhouette suspended in soft light. You slow your steps. Something catches your eye. From a distance, it looks like the bridge is glowing not in a magical sense, but in a way that feels alive. The ropes glisten faintly with dew. The fringe cords sway in perfect harmony. And the river below, still too far to see clearly, hums like a hidden drum. You approach, drawn by something you can't name, and then you notice it. A man sits at the far end, back straight, legs folded, eyes closed. You know this man. He was there. During construction, guiding hands and correcting braids with a single word. He never laughed loudly, never stood out, but he was always where he was needed. Now he simply sits. At first, you hesitate to interrupt, but something in the moment invites stillness. So you sit too on the near side, mirroring him. Neither of you speaks, and slowly, the bridge begins to whisper again, not with words, not even with hums, but with presence. You find yourself breathing, in time with it, chest rising and falling to match its gentle sway. And something shifts inside you, a realization that this structure, this handmade miracle, suspended in air has become more than a marble. It's become a mirror. It reflects how things can be strong without being stiff. How communities can build something lasting without conquering. The land. How knowledge doesn't have to be loud to endure. And most of all, how memory doesn't need ink or concrete. It just needs rhythm. You think back to all the attempts to recreate these bridges. The ones that failed. The ones that felt wrong. The professors, the engineers, the teams with equipment and funding, all trying to replicate what hands and song had done for centuries. Historians still argue whether the lost bridges of the Inca world could ever truly be revived, whether the cultural thread has frayed too far, whether a world of highways and steel has space for something so quiet. But sitting here, you know the answer. It was never lost. It's still here, in every twist of grass, every chant, every calloused fingertip and perfectly placed footstep. The man across the bridge opens his eyes. He sees you, nods once, then turns back to the valley. It's not dramatic, it's not profound, but it's enough. Later, you rise. Cross again. The bridge greets you the same way it always has, with motion, with memory, with breath. On the other side, you notice a new bundle of grass drying on a flat rock. Someone has already begun the next cycle. You smile, because now you understand something you didn't when you first arrived. This bridge wasn't built once, It's always being built in hands, in hearts, in steps and now just maybe in you. The wind picks up in the late afternoon, carrying with it the cool scent of stone and distance. You walk the path again, not hurriedly, not with any task in mind, but because your feet have learned their own route now. The bridge calls to you, like a familiar instrument waiting to be tuned. When you arrive, the sun is beginning its long stretch toward the horizon. The light slants at an angle that makes everything feel older, as if you've stepped into the memory of a moment rather than the moment itself. The bridge glows in gold. Every strand of ichu grass catches the sun like a fine wire, glistening. Even the shadows play along soft, ropey lines dancing gently on the canyon walls. You're not alone. 2 children sit cross-legged at the entrance, arguing quietly over a loop braid. One of them insists it's wrong. The other insists it's perfect. Neither cries. Neither storms off. They're learning. With their fingers, with disagreement, with patience. You kneel beside them. They look up, not surprised, just waiting to. See what side you'll take. You say nothing. Instead, you begin a new braid, slow, exaggerated, deliberate. Not better. Just different. They watch. They mimic. The debate dissolves, and this too is part of the bridge. You rise, dust your hands, and take one last walk across. Not because this is the final time, but because you want to see what else the bridge has to say. Halfway through, you pause. Not from fear, not from fatigue. From wonder. It stretches around you in every direction. Below, the river that carved the gorge, still moving, still pulling time forward. Above, the wind, curling through woven strands like a voice through a flute. Around, the valley walls, their scars softened by moss, their hard truths rounded by years of watching people come and go. And within, the tension of the ropes, the twist of hand over hand, the memory of songs you can almost hum if you sit. Still enough, historians still argue whether these bridges should be preserved as monuments or left to follow their natural cycle, whether keeping them intact dishonors the tradition of rebuilding, whether archiving them in museums strips them of the very breath that gives them life. You know your answer. Let them unravel. Let them fall. Let them return, because this bridge was never meant to last forever. It was meant to carry. And for now, it has carried you. You keep walking, slowly, with reverence. Each step a reminder that movement is not just progress, it's participation. On the far side, you turn and look back. And in that moment, you don't see rope and grass. You see language. You see hands. You see memory stretched across a chasm and held up by trust. And for once, it doesn't matter where the trail leads next, because some journeys don't ask to be finished, only felt. Evening returns with soft steps, like it knows it's not the first to arrive. The sun dips behind the far ridge, and the sky blushes hues of peach, rose, and quiet lavender washing over the canyon. A hush settles, not from absence of sound, but from fullness. Like the day has said everything it needed to say. You sit beside the bridge again, this time without task, without tool, without any reason beyond wanting to be close to it. The ropes are darker now in the fading light. The texture of the braids is more visible than ever, each twist and loop casting its own soft shadow. The fibers fray at the edges, not from carelessness, but from use. From time, you run your fingers along one of the fringe cords, the one you wove days ago. It's held up well. The fibers are tight, the tension still strong. You smile, not out of pride, but understanding that your part of the bridge was never meant to be perfect, just true. A young girl approaches. She's no more than 7, barefoot, carrying a coil of half-braided rope like it's a doll. She plops down beside you, cross-legged, and begins to work. Her hands are quick, but not hurried. She's been watching clearly, learning. You don't say anything. You just watch. She hums something soft, one of the Weaver's songs, incomplete and lilting. More rhythm than melody. Somewhere behind you, someone's lighting the first cooking fire. The scent of wood smoke and maize drifts down the trail. A dog barks once, then settles. The bridge sways. Not much. Just enough. You think again of all the people who have crossed it, of the ones who will. You think of other bridges across other chasms, lost to time, remembered in footnotes and legends, and you realize this one will also vanish. Not because it's failed, but because it has served. It will sag, it will fray, and it will be taken down with love and built again by new hands. With old songs, and maybe just maybe with a memory of your still, braided into its chords. So you whisper a thank you, not to the people, not to the place, not even to the bridge. To the rhythm. To the idea. To the thing that stretches without snapping, that yields without breaking, that carries without needing to last forever. You rise, walk once more to the center, and look out into the darkening gorge. And in the gentle wind, the bridge hums back. And now, it's time to let go of the trail for tonight. You've walked it. You've woven it. You've crossed the canyon of air and time, held only by the strength of twisted grass and the hands of people who knew how to listen. Let your breath slow. Let your hands rest. There's no more rope to braid, no load to carry, no debate left to resolve. Only the soft memory of footsteps on a woven floor, the faint vibration of cord beneath your fingers, and the gentle sound of the wind curling through the valley like a lullaby. You are safe now. There is a bridge behind you and ahead of you. There always will be. There's nothing more you need to hold tonight. Nothing more you need to prove. Just lie still in your own rhythm. Let the song of the rope drift into silence. Let the weight of your body sink slowly into whatever you're resting on, mattress, mat, or earth. You're no longer crossing anything. You've arrived. The bridge hums in the dark, and you woven now into its memory are part of the lullaby. Good night.